UFC. And that's really exciting for the sport. There's not many things out there that can kind of grab wide stream attention, kind of like what Conor McGregor can. And it's just really exciting. This is how sports grow. When they break out of their already existing fan bases. That's what you get with Conor McGregor. It comes to something where on a very, very early Thursday, the day after a new president has been inaugurated at like 8 o'clock in the morning in the United States, and there's still like nearly 30,000 people waiting to watch this press conference from Abu Dhabi. Because you just want to see, there's just that hype. You just want to see what these guys are coming in like. We know that Conor's coming in super confident. We know that. I don't think there's going to be too many surprises in regards to Conor. I suppose what I'm looking for is, what is Dustin coming in like? Dustin is older, more mature. Obviously, he's got other interests and other things going on in his life. Since the last time these two fought. This, of course, is a rematch. Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor 2. Obviously, McGregor winning that first one very quickly within the first minute. But this is a very different fight. I don't think you can necessarily look at that and expect this to be the same fight. In fact, definitely don't look at that and expect this to be the same fight. It's not going to be. Even though Conor says that he still expects to win within a minute this time as well. There could be a degree of mind games being played there. The reason why I say that is because Dustin Poirier has drastically improved. Conor McGregor has as well, but I honestly think that of the two, Poirier has probably improved more. He just really ripped everything up. Following his defeat to Conor. Even Conor has said that he is very impressed with what Dustin was able to do following that loss. It's the whole point why we're getting this rematch. McGregor really respects Dustin and the journey that he's been on. You might remember that last week we saw Max Holloway put on an incredible performance in the main event of the first show of the year. Dustin Poirier, relatively recently, has beaten Max Holloway. He has also beaten Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje was the last person to get a crack at Khabib, obviously falling short. But there's going to be a lot of people that don't know a great deal about Dustin Poirier. You need to know he is the real deal. He is one of the best fighters in the world, to the point where if you just take a couple of names out, certainly Khabib, and that might be it, then he would be the champion in this division. So an awesome, awesome fighter who, more importantly, is at the peak of his powers, right? He is in prime condition right now. Brilliant shape, super athletic. This is not going to be like last year's fight, where it was Conor versus a deteriorating Donald Cerrone. Donald Cerrone is on a downward curve. This is not that fight. This is Conor McGregor versus a very, very impressive Dustin Poirier. So we know that Conor's going to come in, not expecting him to trash talk, not expecting him to be throwing chairs around and all of this. I don't know what the situation is with the fans. I don't know how many fans will be there. I'm expecting some, because we have some at the fights. So I'm expecting some at the press conference. I think it's in the Etihad Arena. So we'll have to see. But obviously it's not going to be those big boisterous crowds that we've seen at press conferences before. This is not the same McGregor as before. This is a frustrated McGregor. This is a McGregor that just wants to fight. This isn't a McGregor that's necessarily trying to show off and establish himself and, become the man. He is the man. He doesn't necessarily act the same way as he did in the past, where, he's running off his mouth and going off on who's that guy, and I'm not expecting all of that. You might get the odd one-liner. There might be something in there for fans of that kind of thing, but I'm expecting this to be a respectful McGregor. I'm expecting this to be a very focused McGregor. I'm expecting this to be a McGregor that's going to reveal that he's looking to beat Dustin in a minute and then go on to fight at least 2 more times this year. There's lots of talk that the boxing fight against him and I think it's Pacquiao that they've been in talks with for the longest time. That looks like it's going to happen this year. So I think the plan for McGregor is for him to win this. Then, honestly, the ball is in Khabib's court. I think if McGregor does win this and wins this convincingly, it's going to be very difficult for Khabib to turn down the rematch. I could see the rematch happening. McGregor will not want to wait. Don't worry about the fact that we won't see that rematch for a year. He's already said that he wanted to fight more times last year, but without the fans and all of that, they just couldn't make it work. So he wants to fight 3, maybe 4 times this year. I could see him beating Dustin, facing Khabib, as long as Khabib agrees, and then going on to have his boxing contest at the end of the year. So I think there's a good chance that we get Conor Poirier, Conor Khabib, Conor Pacquiao. The ball is in Khabib's court. There's no denying that. Khabib could always turn around and say, nah, I don't know. Like, I wasn't impressed with what I saw or something like this. But if he puts in a convincing performance, it's going to be very, very hard for Khabib to make a case for not facing Conor. So, yeah, very much looking forward to this press conference. Of course, not only have we got those 2 guys, we've also got the co-main event guys. So we've got Dan Hooker and Michael Chandler. For those of you that don't know, Dan Hooker, great fighter, just came up short against Poirier in his last fight, I believe it was. And but a very, very good fighter. Brilliant striker. Works angles incredibly well. And really going into that co-main event as the favourite. He is taking on a newcomer. There is a twist to that, though. Michael Chandler has been doing this for a long time. He's got a record of 21-5. Mr. Bellator. Had some of the best fights over in Bellator. And a name that people have wanted to see come over to the UFC for the longest time. He is UFC quality. He's top of the division quality. I don't know that he's champion quality, but that's part of the appeal. We're going to find out. I can tell you that the odds for that co-main event, Dan Hooker -125, Michael Chandler +105. So quite close, but the bookies do have Dan Hooker as the slight favourite in that. But we can dig into stuff. Obviously, we should be at the point where it's due to start. I've got it. There's nearly 70,000 people that are now watching this press conference, and which is kind of crazy numbers, isn't it? So, yes, we are set up and good to go. Shout out to everyone that is joining us. William Hensey says, yeah, Days is talking at Poirier and now McGregor, so focus has changed. I'm thinking McGregor is on his way to the entertainment side of WWE. I'm not so sure. I mean, he is a money man, and I think he's someone that loves to fight. I could see him going to WWE, picking up a very easy paycheck, but not this year. And maybe not for the next few years. I think that he is someone that still feels that he is at the peak of his powers. He is saying that they measure everything that they do in training. He said when he went into that fight against Cowboy, he was breaking records and setting new benchmarks for himself in training. And he went in super sharp, which is why he wanted more fights last year. He says that what they've now done for this fight is break all of those benchmarks. He is in according to him, the best physical shape of his career. His stamina, the striking power, all of these benchmarks they've set, he is smashing them all now. He is the master of self-promotion. So, of course, you have to take it with a pinch of salt when McGregor says that, because I don't know if that's true. Equally, I'm not going to disbelieve him, because he does look in phenomenal shape. He is a natural-born fighter. He is someone that loves to fight. And I mean, honestly, to the point where he's beating up old men in pubs and whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like he's got that fighter in him, and he needs to fight. He wants to fight. I don't see him going off into entertainment and stuff yet, but it's definitely you're not wrong. It's an easy paycheck for him further down the road. But who knows? I mean, if he loses to Poirier, you'd have to say the door for this is big. This is a really big fight. Because if he loses to Poirier, that rematch against Khabib, that door is closed. Khabib is not going to be facing Conor if he loses to Poirier, because there's other people ahead of Conor then. And we know that Khabib is probably only going to have one more fight. You'd like to get to that 30-0. He's currently 29-0. So we know there's probably one more fight in him. And he's said specifically that is looking at these two fights this weekend, the main event and the co-main event. Someone needs to step up and impress him. He's already spoken about Charles Oliveira, who was very impressive against Tony Ferguson. But I think the problem there is Oliveira may be just one step behind where he needs to be. Maybe he needs one more fight before he gets Khabib. Certainly if it is to be Khabib's last fight, you've really got to build up Oliveira. Oliveira needs to win like a big high profile. Like really Oliveira should be the co-main of something very, very soon. And then that would establish him, if he won that, as the absolute out-and-out number one contender. I think part of the problem is this division is so stacked that there's a real argument for several out-and-out number one contenders. So Oliveira is in the mix, no denying that. If Khabib was sticking around for 10 more fights, he would be one of them. But with one fight potentially left for Khabib, and that is it, it's hard to say that Oliveira is going to be that person. So Khabib has said it's going to be one of these fights. It's going to be Conor or Dustin. And he's also looking at Hooker and Chandler. But again, I kind of feel that's one step below. There's no denying that the winner of Poirier-McGregor is going to be right up there in the shop window. There's been a lot of talk about GSP as well. Apparently, there's no interest in a GSP fight from Khabib, which I do think is quite surprising. I do think that's quite surprising. I think even if he thinks that he's just so, far past GSP at this moment in time that it's not worth it, I still think that's a great name to have on your resume. I still think that's a big fight. So, we're going to have to wait and see, obviously, how this weekend plays out. But there's so much at stake. Even though there's no actual titles on the line, it's huge. This maps out Conor McGregor's year. And they are very drastically different paths. Because if he loses to Poirier, I think he might want to get on the horse as quick as possible. He might want to face the winner of Hooker and Chandler, or he might want to face Oliveira. He also floated the idea of facing Max Holloway again. So there is actually a chance that we could get McGregor-Holloway, which would be incredible. That would be following what we saw last weekend. That would be awesome. And certainly the seed has been planted, because Max Holloway during that fight proclaimed himself the best boxer in the UFC, and McGregor took offense to that. Well, he just tweeted out lol when he heard that, because of course McGregor has worked a lot on his boxing, a lot on his striking, to the point where, he went rounds, quite a few rounds, with Floyd Mayweather. Now, we can talk about that and about how Floyd potentially could have put him away earlier than he did. But by the by, he still stepped in there. He still managed to get shots off on one of the greatest of all time to ever do it. So we know that Conor is one of the best strikers, best boxers in all of UFC, maybe the best. So when Max Holloway was proclaiming himself to be the best, you've all of a sudden got a very tasty matchup there. I think that match is huge. After what Max Holloway did and the buzz that he generated in the first main event of the year, to get McGregor and Holloway would be awesome. And Holloway said he wanted to stick around. If someone couldn't make this fight, he was in. Holloway was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. He was ready to step in. I mean, it'd be a really bad idea because his face was a little bit mashed up following that incredible 5-round fight that he had last weekend. So that was never a realistic prospect. But he is happy to step into this. Don't worry about different weights and all that kind of stuff. He is happy to step in. Fighters want to fight, man. Fighters want to fight. Wrestling Days fan says, why hasn't this started yet? I don't know, actually. There's a slight delay as to where it is. I can see people in the chat getting a little bit frustrated over on their official website. But, yeah, shouldn't be too much longer. Holloway is crazy, says the Elite Squad. It was what a fight, what a performance. I was talking about this during our UFC watch along, and of course, let me take this opportunity to say that we will be doing a live watch along for UFC 257 this weekend. Full theories and breakdowns and speculation, and obviously commentary of the fights as well. That stream's going to be like 10 hours long, so make sure to stop by and join us, because really looking forward to seeing people's thoughts, how they're reacting to the fights. That's what I love about the watch-alongs, is you can kind of get that instant reaction as to what people are thinking and feeling, and jump into the chat, and you know, the chat's exploding, and what's going to be next for Conor, what's going to be next for Dustin, what's going to be next for the guys in the co-main as well. So such an exciting year this year. I mean, obviously we've got Adesanya making moves, going up against Jan Blachowicz as well. So Adesanya looking to be a champ. As well as that, you got the greatest female MMA fighter of all time in Amanda Nunes, you know, just doing her thing. John Jones moving up to heavyweight as well. So you got some real interesting stuff there. Max Holloway just walking around killing people. Just there's so much going on in the UFC at the moment. And, you know, for McGregor to kind of come back and say that he wants to have like 3-4 fights this year. Granted, one might be the boxing. But for McGregor to say that just makes the year even more exciting. Because make no mistake about it, he is still one of the best in all of UFC. Like, he is still a pound-for-pound great. There's a lot of people out there saying, like, well, do you know what I mean? He had a fight against Khabib and lost it at the end of 2018. And then since then, what have we seen from him? You know, 40-odd seconds against Cowboy Cerrone. And, like, he just might not have it anymore. He has got it. He has definitely got it. If you watch him on Instagram, see him training, seeing, you know, the work that he's putting in. He's got a whole new, like, fitness program around him. And, yeah, just some really, really... A lot of the documentaries that obviously UFC are putting out, you know, a lot of the little videos that they're putting out, a lot of the stuff that Conor's putting out himself. It's all really, really fascinating stuff. He is... I'll tell you the word that I get and what comes to mind. Hungry. He is hungry. This is a focused, hungry Conor McGregor. And that is a dangerous Conor McGregor. So, but Poirier is dangerous as well. I love this fight. I really love this fight. I think this is the perfect fight to make right now. I think Poirier fell short against Khabib. No shame in that. McGregor did as well. They've both had to go back to the drawing board as a result to try and figure out, you know, how do you solve this Rubik's Cube? How do you figure out the problem that is Khabib? They're both trying to do that. They're both kind of at a similar level at this stage. And that's why this fight makes perfect sense. It's a real shame to have seen Tony Ferguson remove himself from the conversation. Who knows what Ferguson would have been doing around this time. But, you know, the fact that he obviously lost, got absolutely battered by Gaethje, and then absolutely dominated by Charles Oliveira. I really feel for Tony Ferguson. He is absolutely sitting on the sidelines now, just watching all of this unfold, knowing that he is just not a player anymore. I mean, like, he could get back up there, but it's a long road for him. He's going to need three really strong, really convincing wins to get back into contention against big names. And considering he's just coming off losses to Gaethje and Oliveira, you would have to say that looks unlikely that he's going to do that. But I suppose never rule out Tony Ferguson. But, yeah, I have to take a moment just to say I really feel for him. So, yeah, lots happening, man. Lots happening. Right, let's try and jump down into the chat. WWE Grest says, do you think Brock will go back to UFC? No. I think Brock's a little bit... I mean, like, he could and do, like, an exhibition thing that he did at UFC 200 where he took on Mark Hunt. But other than that, no. I mean, the sport... The thing with the UFC is that it's constantly moving forward. You've constantly got people that are excelling at certain things, and then you've got to try and, you know, the whole sport moves forward. The thing is that the sport is still relatively young. If you think about mixed martial arts and UFC in particular, it's only, 27, 28 years old? It's still very much... We're still learning and pushing boundaries, and we're still, you know, striking is getting better, and ground games are getting better, and, you know, where in the early stages you could be really good at one discipline. It's only been really in the past, say, 20 years, you've needed to have been more well-rounded. And as a result of that, there's people coming along that are really pushing those boundaries now. And I kind of think that Brock is left behind, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think that his power, obviously, is very impressive. And he did learn a ground game, of course. And his striking was always fine. But I just think there's better now. I mean, Brock against Ngannou, Brock gets murdered. And I don't see him being competitive. I mean, Ngannou lost to Stipe, so I know that it doesn't quite work out that way. But Brock against Stipe, Stipe wins. Brock against Ngannou, Ngannou wins. Brock against John Jones, who's now in the heavyweight division, John Jones wins. Obviously, it looked like we were going to get Brock against Cormier, and I think as like a one-off fight, that would have been really, really interesting. But I gotta say, I think Cormier would have got the job done. But that would have been a very interesting fight. It would have been a very interesting fight. But I think it's such a shame that he got that diverticulitis, because I do think we were robbed of Brock in his prime with that illness. But yeah, I mean, look, he was on steroids to beat Mark Hunt. That's where Brock Lesnar is, on steroids to beat Mark Hunt. He could come back, but it would be exhibition fights. Where is this press conference? We are now 15 minutes past where it was meant to start. Man, this was early enough as it was. So, yeah, rude. Connor's only excuse for being late is if he is drinking proper 12, says Charlie. My comments from my main account aren't going through. Okay. I've no idea why that would be the case. To make 2021 great, CM Punk is going to get his first UFC win. McGregor versus Ferguson prediction. Really tough, Billy, because, I mean, where is McGregor? Where is Ferguson? I've sat here and said McGregor's the real deal, and I stand by that. And actually, when this fight was first announced, I was leaning to Poirier. I always favour the fighter that's been more active. I always favour the fighter that I know is going to be able to go the rounds. I mean, the thing with Poirier, his cardio is fine. He will go 5 rounds, no problem. He's actually a slow starter. Poirier's problem is the start of fights. Even against Dan Hooker, he wasn't looking brilliant at the start. So this is the danger zone, right? There is a chance that McGregor will win this fight early. There is a chance, because the problem is that even though Poirier is a much better fighter when these two faced before, he is still a slow starter. He likes to get into his rhythm, get into his game plan, work out his distances, find his angles. He just likes to get comfortable, and there's no problem with that. Once he's in and he's settled, he is an exceptional fighter. The problem is McGregor likes to come out and just get the job done. You know, if you're throwing anything at McGregor, McGregor is one of the best counter strikers in all of UFC. Full stop. So, like, you can't really race out to McGregor, start throwing stuff. Poirier won't do that. But if McGregor decides to bring a bit of an early storm, which might be a path to victory for him, he really could catch Dustin. So it's hard, because where's Ferguson right now? Ferguson's one of my all-time favorite fighters. I love the fact that this guy was winning, just grinding out results, and, you know, was waiting for, I mean, was it 5 times we were meant to get Ferguson against Khabib? And it, you know, it was booked and cancelled for tons of different reasons. And now we're at the point where it'll never happen, right? So I think we've all made peace with that. But I don't know where he is anymore. I've got a feeling that those fights have now taken their toll. I think we've waited too long. You know, I think we had 5 opportunities to get Ferguson against Khabib, and honestly, who knows how they would have gone. I think fairly confidently we could say now that Khabib would have won that fight, but there's no denying how great Ferguson was doing and what a role he was on and the victories he was picking up. And now I'm left wondering, has all of that damage taken its toll? And if that is the case, then him stepping in against Conor McGregor, I would have to lean to McGregor. But equally, until I see McGregor face someone like Poirier, I can't quite 100% tell you where McGregor is. I feel that he's in a great place. I feel that he's in the peak of his prime, because that's what he's telling me. And from the training that I'm seeing, and the fact that he was able to go in there against Cowboy and put Cowboy away so quickly, I have to agree. The flip side of that is the fact that Cowboy is absolutely in decline. I mean, McGregor-Ferguson is not a bad fight. Certainly if McGregor loses this. I think if McGregor loses to Poirier, then I think McGregor-Khabib is done. So I think McGregor then is going to have to look at, right, what's on the table. And there will be plenty on the table for him, even if he loses. I think one of them fights might be Ferguson. One of them fights will be Max Holloway. One of those fights could be potentially the winner of Hooker and Chandler, because, as I said, I do think they're both a step behind. I think if Chandler wins, Chandler would have to win in very, very convincing fashion. He would have to look like a beast, and he can look like a beast, but he would have to really grab people's attention in order for him to be in title contention, in my opinion. I just don't... He's just not proven at this level. I know he's had some big wins and had big fights in Bellator. I totally get that. It is still Bellator. You know, these lights are brighter. These stages are bigger. And, you know, these fighters, this roster is much deeper. So, you know, you get the odd win. It's not enough. Ask Tony Ferguson. You've got to put a real string of wins together. So, I don't know. I can't see Khabib's final fight being against Michael Chandler or Hooker. I think it's the winner of this, really. But the only downside of that is if Poirier wins, I don't know that I can see Poirier-Khabib again, because we saw it so recently. Was it 2019? 2019, I think it was. And Khabib won. Done. It's hard to know where that next challenge is going to come from. But look, let's see what people have got to say. That is why we are here, and that is why over 80,000 are watching on YouTube right now. We are going over to the press conference. It is time for something very unusual for us. We're going to see what everyone has got to say. There is a lot at stake. That I hope at least that message gets across, even though there's no titles. Even though there'll be a lot of casual fans that will be joining that just want Conor to win, there is a lot at stake here. That shot, I mean, when they faced 7 years ago, that shot that bounced off his temple, vicious, man. Poirier went down and you know, Conor followed it up. I'd never heard of Michael Chandler until this card. Is he any good or a crotch sniffer? No, Billy, he is a very good fighter. He's very athletic. There's a few chin questions. His record is 21-5. He is UFC quality. He's someone that I think is comparable to a Dan Hooker. Is a really good matchup. I mean, this is going to tell us where he is, to be perfectly honest. So I think Dan Hooker is a really great fight for him. Or a Charles Oliveira. You know, kind of that middle of the division, not the very, very top, like a Poirier. or a McGregor, but kind of the more middle pack. Put him in there, see how he does. He's going into that fight as a slight underdog. So, no, he is a very good fighter. He's going to look for takedowns at the weekend. He's going to want to get Dan Hooker down onto the ground. He's very athletic. He is a top wrestler. Michael Chandler trains with Kamaru Usman and all-American background. He is a fantastic wrestler. So he's bringing those skills in. And his striking is very clean, very crisp. He is a very good all-rounder, actually, Michael Chandler. The question mark is, can he put it all together against some of the best in the world? That's why this weekend is so tasty. So, no, he's good. He's very good. People have been calling for him to come to the UFC for a long time. A long time. We're just seeing a video package at the moment, so no one's come out. You're not missing anything. Of course, you can watch this over on YouTube as well. But yeah, we are waiting and watching for this thing to begin. Conor does whatever he wants. That's why we are late. Daze, do you think UFC 257 is worth it for $19.95? 100%. 100%. It's a great looking card. And could mean big things for the year. So it's one of those that's going to set up the year. So there might be some. I don't think there will be. I don't think there will be people that skip this one and just wait for whatever Conor's going to do next. But there's no denying that this is part of the journey. This isn't the destination. Michael Chandler making his way up onto the stage. But yeah, this is part of the journey. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens if Conor wins or loses. Right, Dan Hooker making his way as well. The Hangman Hooker. What about Conor Jake Paul? No. No. Conor says that Poirier is a great fighter, but even great is levels below him. He trained, and his training, he trained to face Floyd. He's training to face Manny Pacquiao. And you've got Jake Paul, who has faced not a single professional fighter. Not one. There's Conor in a very sharp-looking suit. Blue suit, blue shirt, waves out to the fans. And shows some respect with Dana. Obviously, they had a very rocky relationship. Here is Dustin Poirier. The Diamond. I was watching the countdown show, and they were saying, oh, look at that. Show of respect straight out of the gate. Conor shakes Dustin's hand, so not expecting the fireworks or stuff like that. The insults. They're asking Conor straight away, what do you think of the atmosphere? How does it affect your energy and your focus? Conor says it feels pretty good right now. And there are people in the crowd. Do you think Manny versus McGregor will happen? Yes. Conor has too much power. Manny doesn't have the best of chins. I think it's really interesting, though, because what Manny does have is just an incredible boxing mind, and he's spent his whole life being one of the best in the world. McGregor is, obviously an MMA fighter, very well-rounded, and it'd be an interesting fight. McGregor says that Poirier has risen up and is one of the best in division, and is very excited to face him. UFC 257 is coming home. It's very exciting. Very exciting. Conor says he's got complete confidence in his preparation. This is a different weight as well. When they first faced each other at featherweight. This, of course, is now taking place at lightweight. That actually is better for both guys. Yeah, Conor said he only got 40 seconds in 2020 and was frustrated with that. He says that he believes he can get him out there early. McGregor coming into this ranked 4th in the division. Dustin Poirier ranked 2nd. So Conor was named in a lawsuit, and McGregor's like, it's old news. The crowd boo at the question being asked of about him being asked. He says he's put in immense amount of work. I can see people in the UFC chat getting frustrated at the lack of trash talking. It's a lot of respect. It's a very respectful Conor. This fight is all about round 1. I'm expecting fireworks, says Dave in real life. Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier says an octagon is an octagon. He doesn't care where the fight happens. Comments aren't going through. I don't know what that is, dude. I'm not aware of anyone else that's having any issues. Oh, well, maybe William is. Dustin says he's trying to get all of his hard work to pay off. Yeah, and Dustin also says whoever wins this, he knows is going to fight for gold. Conor says he's been impressed with Dustin, and he thinks the whole industry has been impressed with Dustin. I'm honored to share the octagon with him. People in the UFC chat saying Khabib really humbled Conor. So Dustin thanks Conor for reaching out and making a very kind donation to his foundation. You can tell Poirier still hates McGregor. I think, yeah, they're very focused. Dana. Okay. Khabib did handball Conor. This is cool. So now they're asking Michael Chandler what he thinks of being in the UFC. So 21-5. He's finished 16 of his 21 wins. He's a real all-rounder. He's got 6 knockouts and 7 submissions. I could see him winning easily against Dan Hooker. I really do think that he is someone that is top of the division caliber. Certainly UFC caliber, of course, but top of the division caliber. I don't know that he's champion. I don't see this guy as a Khabib killer. Let's put it that way. I don't know that there is a Khabib killer. Okay, they're asking Chandler that I know that you're not looking past this fight, but we know that you'd have an eye on Conor. What do you think? And he says, well, he's dapper as always. This could work in Conor's favor. McGregor is too calm. I can tell that Dustin is a bit shocked, says Billy. I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know, because this fight, I think, started... McGregor can't quite recall who contacted who, but there was, I think, frustration at a lack of fighting, and McGregor just wanted to fight. So these two got in touch with each other, and there was going to be just an exhibition fight. They were going to do it outside of the UFC. We were going to get Poirier versus McGregor in an exhibition, and they were going to do it for charity. And then, obviously, UFC were like, well, we don't really like that. Let's get involved. Let's sort something out. And now here we are. So that's how the fight came to be. So I think they've been talking for quite a long time. They were going to do a charity fight. I think this whole thing started off on a good footing. And I think that, it stayed that way. The genuine is mutual respect between the two. But it does make this weekend very interesting as well. Okay, here's Conor. Conor says even the other two are potential future opponents, and he's very excited. He just wants to fight, man. He just wants to fight. He's very calm. I think fatherhood has really chilled him out as well. I think he's got the fighter in him. I mean, I suppose part of the concern would be that when he's playing the mind games, when he's switched on, when he's getting into people's heads. I mean, he has used that to his advantage in the past, and that is an advantage that will be gone. He won't have that advantage going in. I don't know that he's necessarily in Dustin's head or psyching him out or anything like this. I think Dustin can quite comfortably put a game plan in place and go about putting that game plan into action. I don't know that Conor's like throwing him off or anything. So I suppose there's a little bit of concern there. Conor says he's got no problem with his kids watching the fight, but he doesn't want them in the arena. They're a bit young for that. The calm before the storm, says Dave in real life. The calm before the storm. Patrick says he doesn't need to trash talk anymore. He's got hundreds of millions. Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing to take into account as well is the fact there's a pandemic going on. There's people, going through some real hardships out there, and I don't know. I don't know if this would be the right time for him to be shooting off his mouth and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. He doesn't need to trash talk. We spoke about that. No days. Conor had his baby even before he fought Khabib. You mean Khabib chilled him down? Conor says that he's looking for the highest challenge. Dustin has got a win over Dan Hooker, so... Conor says that he feels he's right at the top, and of course he would say that. And genuinely, he believes that. He says the title should be stripped. So Conor says that he feels the title should have been stripped. Conor says he's got lots of weapons in his arsenal. He's got 1 million shots that he could use. He's just going to look to paint his own picture. I respect Conor so much because he came from collecting 150 a week on welfare to UFC. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And, self-made millionaire and, could go on to be a billionaire, couldn't he? With all his businesses that he's invested in. So, yeah, nothing but respect for Conor. But I think this is about where does he stand now in the UFC. He's still absolutely at the top. I don't know that he ever would beat Khabib. I don't think he would. I genuinely don't think he would, but the great thing about Conor is that he can convince you into thinking that he might. And certainly a big win, a big performance over Poirier. I don't know what other fight they could make. I mean, even Dana knows that's the fight. It's just Khabib that doesn't seem interested. Conor said that if this was Dana a few years ago, he would have just took the title off Khabib. So I think he's a little frustrated. Saturday is huge. Cool, calm, and collected McGregor is a dangerous one. Days, how do you watch McGregor Poirier? ESPN Plus, I believe. 7th most performance awards in UFC history with 7. Yeah, Dustin says that it means a lot to him personally that McGregor has donated to his foundation. Nearly 250,000 people are watching this press conference right now. Nearly 250,000. Dan Hooker says the only reason that I'm here is because anyone ahead of me turned facing me down. I'm here, I'm taking the risk, so I should reap the rewards. Dana says the event is trending very well. How do you watch McGregor Poirier? ESPN Plus. I think it's going to be on those. I mean, it's even in the UK here, it's pay-per-view. And normally the big shows aren't. Yeah, Conor says book it. So they're saying, one of the press guys was saying that we want an undisputed champion at the end of the year. Not like Khabib, who might have one more fight and then he's done. But Conor's like, book it, I'm in. The Etihad Arena looks amazing, says Retribution. Dat King, hello. Do you know when the prediction game results will come out? Are you doing the video after this? Well, I'm doing it today, but I don't know exactly when. But yeah, I mean, it'll be out today. "14 first round finishes for Conor McGregor." So I heard Conor talking about the fact that how he felt about Khabib saying, you know, we'll see who wins and what happens and if anyone impresses me. And Conor was just not interested. I think Conor knows that if he just goes and does what he plans to do anyway, he'd eventually get to a title shot, even if it's after Khabib has gone. Breaking news, Dustin accepts bribe. Conor is going to throw the fight in the first. Days, if you had to go back in time, what show would you watch? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think there's been some incredible shows, but it's cheesy. But how? If you could be there in person, I would love to be at the first. I know it's a really boring answer, but to see it all start and Hoist Gracie and you know, it's just weird and wild to say that I think there was 2,000 people there, something like that. But to say that you'd been in that crowd. Question for Conor. They're asking, is 155 your ideal weight? Conor says, well, I've done pretty good in all the other ones as well. He says he feels great at this weight, but whatever he commits to, you know, it's typical Conor answer, really. He says he feels fast. Days, when does Khabib have to relinquish his belt if he doesn't return? Well, he said he's not going to hold the division up. So he's not going to be playing teasing long games. Oh, I might do this, I might do that kind of a thing. The answer that he gave, he sat down and had a chat with Dana, and the answer he gave was, let's see who impresses me. Let's see who really steps forward and, you know, delivers this weekend. So I think we'll get an answer. I think actually Dana said he's going for a meal in Vegas with Khabib. I think next week or so, and he's expecting a response then. So I don't think I'm not expecting this to be something that plays out for long. We're going to get an answer real soon. Conor says he looks to challenge himself and seek greater heights. It's a really good fight this is for him. Dace, have you watched the old shows? I've rewatched UFC 192, 181, one. Yeah, I've gone back. I mean, I've seen a lot of them around that time. As I said, I've been watching UFC since like not every single show, but I've watched UFC since the early 2000s. I suppose I was really into it for like the past 10 years, probably a little longer. But yeah, I mean, yeah, love Fight Pass, going back and catching up on some of the shows I missed. It's quite a lot actually of Ultimate Fighters that I haven't seen. They're talking to Michael Chandler, asking what's it like to be on the stage with these guys? Is this a different level of competition? Yeah, Chandler says, overall, this is the toughest competition. Of course, he's got to say that. Former NCAA Division I All-American wrestler. All of them look very relaxed. The only thing I would say is all look very relaxed, very respectful. Dan Hooker is the only one that seems to have just a slight edge to his answers, a little frustration to his answers. I think Chandler's just happy to be there. Conor is very respectful, saying that, he just wants to push forward, wants to, reach new heights. Dustin Poirier is just a really nice guy anyway. But yeah, the only one that's got a little edge is, you can see it in the body language as well. Like, they're all kind of relaxed sitting there. And then at the end, you've got Dan Hooker, kind of arms crossed. Okay, so talking to Poirier. Customer might as well find fans firstly. I like. Yeah, I like it. I was a fan of it. I mean, I suppose it's fine to move on from it. So I can't say that I was upset when they did move away from it, but it was a good song. It kind of fitted at the time. I don't know if it would work now. It'd be like having the Gladiator intros. Do you remember them? I got to be honest, I'm not sure there's a great deal of insight here. I'm not sure they're giving us like loads of stuff to get our teeth into. There's some really good documentaries out there if you are excited for this weekend. The embedded stuff is really good. Obviously, the countdown that they do is really good as well. It's been a few interesting. There was a really good Conor interview with Megan O'Leary that I was watching, where he gave some really interesting answers. I don't feel like these questions are kind of digging deep enough. It's all like, do you feel good at this weight? Well, what do you expect him to say? No. Of course. Don't understand. I watch most of Rousey Misha Tate fights. Wrestling Days fan, I'm good. Saturday night, we're going to go out there and put on a show that gets an applause from the fans. People have been jumping into this stream all throughout. It's got over 260,000 people watching it right now. It's a weird question. Can you talk about how you define yourself as an artist? Conor says that he's a hard worker, is a driven guy. Conor McGregor gets it done. These are pretty dumb questions. I've been an MMA fan since I can remember. I think the last four in the Rumble will be Shinsuke, Riddle, Lashley. Yeah, well, Rumble not too far away as well. Long live the Chuck Liddell fights. Days, it's impossible to compare wrestling to MMA. MMA is different. Yeah. Conor literally gets every question. Oh, it was always going to be that way. It's always been that way. Conor says it's been a wild ride. It's not been easy at times. But he wouldn't want it to have been any other way. He said he feels invigorated. I'm going to paint a beautiful picture. All the answers, very safe. Not very revealing. Okay, Abu Dhabi Sports. These are different fighters. Fun fact, MMA is real and wrestling is scripted. All the guys should be in line for a title fight. What are these questions? It is strange. God, this is the longest question ever asked. Conor answers this really long question. I'm not even sure what the question was. And he says, I feel like I'm just starting. All the money, all the belts comes and goes. It's the highlights that live forever. Conor says he wants his highlight reel to be like a movie. I think that's such a good mentality to have. Conor says that he just wants to sit back with his son, having some proper 12. I helped build this. Conor says that he's looking to conquer Dustin twice. That was actually the most fired up that we'd seen Conor get so far. Why are all these journalists like 12 years old? He spent a lot of time in Portugal. And as he said, he's been doing a lot on conditioning. Incredible. 263,000 people watching this. And they're seeing the softest, friendliest Conor McGregor ever. I got McGregor to win in the second round. Oh, yeah. Feel free to let me know. Who have you got winning this fight? How do you see the fight playing out? Of course, we are live this weekend. Okay. I've got an adult asking a question now. That's good. And it's a good question as well. What are you going to change this weekend to win this fight, Dustin? He says that I've evolved. I've had to stay in the company this long. I don't care what anyone thinks anymore, and I used to care too much. So he's changed his mindset. He's got more technical. What do you think Khabib is looking for? I don't care. Conor says Khabib didn't say that. It was Dana that said that. Conor says, I'll keep my calm and I'll move on. If he doesn't want it, whatever. I thought he was going to go off on Khabib then. Me too, Dave. I'm going to go Conor round 1. Dave has got Conor round 1. Wrestling Days fan has got Conor round 1. Conor with the mind games, says Retribution. Dat King says, I feel like Conor might win in the first, but I think Dustin is going to know he is going to go for a finish in the first, and Poirier is going to hit him with some good stuff. Conor said he wanted to hear his shots whistling through the air. He was fine with no crowd. My whistle will still whistle strong. This is a very different Conor McGregor. Okay, so that was the end of the press conference. There was no fireworks. No one got worked up. Dan Hooker maybe showed a little fire. I thought as soon as they were going to ask Conor about Khabib, I thought there was going to be a really good chance that we were going to see some fireworks then. I mean, the fact that Dustin Poirier took to the stage and they fist bumped and showed respect straight from the start, completely showed you the tone that this was going to be set in. It was all very respectful. Chandler is happy to be there. You know, he says it's the toughest competition that he'll ever face. I mean, what else can he say? It was everything that you expected and everything that you thought it was going to be. The problem, I suppose, the frustration, the disappointment was there was no surprises there. I thought even if the main event was going to go the way that it did, I thought that the co-main event guys might add a little bit of spark, might add a little bit there. I mean, what a stage for them to be on. What a stage for Michael Chandler to be on. That was an opportunity there for the co-main event guys to, you know, get a little bit of buzz going. Conor shakes Michael Chandler's hand as they're just at the side of the stage waiting for a few photo opportunities. Yeah, I think Dan Hooker, I think Michael Chandler could have done more. They got a couple of questions. They didn't get loads, but there was definitely an opportunity there for them. There was definitely an opportunity there. But I think everyone's carrying themselves with a lot of dignity, a lot of respect. Maybe that's what the world needs right now. People are tuning in for this regardless of what happens. Maybe you could have convinced a few more to have tuned in, but we're just seeing now, face-to-face, Michael Chandler and Dan Hooker. Of course, Hooker towers over Michael Chandler. The other interesting fact as well is I think there's about a 7-inch reach advantage for Dan Hooker. So Hooker, the much taller, much longer guy, they're face-to-face and, you know, there's a show of respect between the two. So we've got our co-main photos done, and now here is Conor and Dustin. They shake hands, they go face-to-face, staring down each other. Conor even takes the shades off as well. Little something said there. Little something. They nod. They stare at each other. They nod. Conor gets into his striking position. It might sound like a different Conor, but the Conor that you know and love is still in there. And Conor McGregor walks away. Poirier heads in the other direction. And there we go, man. That was the press conference. It was, as we said, maybe a little bit flat. I'm not sure there's going to be too much that kind of comes out of that, but worth watching because you never know. Worth watching for the body language, and it was very relaxed on both sides. I think Conor is so relaxed. Conor is genuinely relaxed. I think with Poirier, there was a silence there. I think that Poirier maybe expected what we got, but you never know with Conor. You never know. I know that Dan Hooker had actually made a comment saying that he was, I don't want to say nervous. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but let's say concerned that if Conor wanted to go off on him verbally, you know, he was, Dan Hooker was like, I just don't want to be the, who is that guy? I don't want that moment to happen to me. So he, I think, was probably going into it. He was like this on stage. You could see he was very defensive up there. And part of that might have been that, you know, if Conor wanted to rip into Hooker and whatever, we all know that he could. Again, I wonder if that's a slight missed opportunity, even if he's not going to fire shots at Poirier. Maybe he could have just had a little pop shot at, certainly Khabib. I'm amazed he didn't go off at Khabib. They set it up for him. What do you think about Khabib saying these things? And he was like, let's make no mistake about it. Khabib didn't say that. It was Dana that said that about, you know, I want to see something special, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to focus on it. And he just kind of very much dismissed it. I don't know. I think he just wants to fight. I think he's focused on the challenge ahead. I think he knows that people are going to tune into his fights regardless. I think there's a lot of chaos and a lot of drama in the world, and perhaps he kind of feels like, you know, he's matured a little bit, and this isn't like maybe the right time for all of that. There's no bad blood either. There's nothing for him to get worked up or upset about. I mean, he's giving money to Dustin's foundation, and this just isn't the fight for it. So even though there wasn't really much there was still things that are interesting that you can kind of take away from it. And yeah, we've got Saturday to come. Dana White got the angriest with the pirating question. Yes. I think McGregor is working it. He's selling the calm, happy, balanced man versus the molten lava that's underneath the surface. Crazy Ginger Jake Holden says, old Conor is much better than this Conor. I prefer the trash talking. Warsaw till I die. Johnny Nelson said, AJ versus Fury is within touching distance. Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's a fight that both guys want. I mean, AJ is happy to sign that. Fury has very publicly for a long time said he wants that fight. The only stumbling block was, I think AJ wasn't willing to give 50-50. I think it was 60-40 or 55-45, something along those lines. And I think that has changed now. I think they've come to the arrangement, the agreement that it will be 50-50 per split because of what Tyson Fury has done against Deontay Wilder. So that fight is very close as well. But as we said, you know, we're going to get a lot of big fights this year. This year is going to see a lot happening and a lot of exciting action. Not just in MMA, but in boxing as well, where Conor is expected to return. I mean, Jake Paul's going to continue to call out Conor. There's no denying that would be a big fight. It's a fight I don't see happening. It's Conor is looking for legacy. Conor is looking for highlight reels. He's not looking to face unproven just nobodies, which is, I mean, what Jake Paul is. He's not looking at that. He's looking for championships and legacy, and you can forget it. I just don't see it happening. I think the only way that Conor would even look at that is if he was to go on a losing streak. Is if he faces Poirier and loses, and then went into boxing and lost against Pacquiao, and Jake Paul was to win against like a proven fighter, or beat someone like, say, Ben Askren, who he could beat in all fairness, because Askren's striking is awful, then that might get interesting. Well, I say interesting. I mean, he's going to lose if he faces Conor, but Conor's not looking at that fight. He's not looking at that fight. There was quite a few Jake Pauls getting mentioned in the chat there. I kind of look at that and see casuals. When I see people putting that in, I kind of see the casual fans, which are going to be, coming into the sport now as a result of kind of fighting this weekend. But really, really interesting press conference. Not the fireworks that I think many people were hoping for. Lightweight division is heating up, says Alfie. Ashley says this Saturday, Sunday stream is going to be like 8-9 hours. Very much so. Very, very much so. We are going to be starting well before the early prelims. I know you lot know that anyway, people that join us on this channel on a regular basis, but we're doing well before. We'll probably go through, like, really break fights down before. Then we go into early prelims. Then we go into prelims. Then we're going to go, obviously, into the main card. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot going on Saturday. And really, my day today is watching tape, just like getting down notes and just really getting ready for this weekend. It's one of the biggest weekends of the year. But the great thing is, I think that 2020 is going to have quite a few... 2021 is going to have quite a few big weekends. Ben Askren's striking is like a drunk person trying to start a fight. Chalmers, shout out to you. I can't wait for Saturday, says Wrestling Days fam. Days, does Pacquiao beat Conor? I would need to see where Pacquiao is now, because I think there's a very definite drop-off with Pacquiao's qualities. I think that Conor did well against Mayweather, but I still think Mayweather was levels above Conor. I think for me, what's quite interesting would be Pacquiao was Mayweather level, of course. I think that Mayweather fought Pacquiao really as Pacquiao was coming towards the end of his career, where there was a definite decline. That was not Pacquiao at his peak. That was not Pacquiao in his prime. And but fair play, Mayweather still had the fight, and it went the way that it went. I think Pacquiao has been in decline for quite a long time. I think Pacquiao is, and I think McGregor is, I don't want to say his prime, but that's what he's saying. His striking is very, very good. I think it would be a very interesting fight. And if Conor could find a shot to put Pacquiao away, then I can't say I would be surprised. But I honestly would give Conor a puncher's chance. I would say that Conor's striking is very, very good for MMA. But Pacquiao is a specialist. He has lived his life working on his striking, not worrying about ground games, not worrying about, any other facets or aspects. Just boxing, just punching power and accuracy and all of that stuff. And I think that even a decline in Pacquiao is still going to be levels above Conor. But I do still think that it would be relatively competitive, because Conor's the best in MMA, or certainly one of. Max Holloway claims to be the best at boxing, but I do think that Conor is of a very exceptional standard. So I do think it would be a very good fight. I would expect Pacquiao to win. I would think that Conor would have a puncher's chance. He would have a chance. It's not going to be like Mayweather, Logan Paul. I think it would be a very interesting fight, but I would see Pacquiao winning it. Days, what are your predictions for the UFC main event and co-main event? Well, nothing has changed after watching that press conference. I think that I think the respect is real. I think that Poirier is very much an improved fighter. And I have to be honest, when this fight was first announced, I was leaning to Poirier. I think as we're getting towards the fight, as I'm seeing the training footage, I am leaning more towards McGregor now. I think McGregor is frustrated. He obviously sent out all those messages, those personal DMs that he had between him and Dana, where he wanted to fight more. He wanted to, be competing. I think he even said, how about Diego Sanchez, which is a very strange fight. Very weird fight. I don't know where... If Conor wants to test himself, if Conor wants to push himself, why is he asking about Diego Sanchez? That's a concern. I would say that's something that doesn't quite fit. But I can only imagine, like, maybe Dana was like, well, this person's tied up, that person's tied up, and I don't know, perhaps that's all that Conor thought was on the table for him, but I do find that very, very strange that that's a name that Conor was throwing out there. This is a great fight this weekend. This is a challenge for Conor. Poirier took that loss to Conor and grinded and has improved and is, even Conor says, a great fighter, but even great is levels below where I am. So I think that... At first, I was going with Poirier. I think I've been really impressed with seeing how Conor has approached this, how dedicated Conor is. He's not distracted by anything. He's putting the work in. We're seeing him put that work in. He's telling us that all the benchmarks, all the metrics that he uses in training are being destroyed, are being smashed. He's coming in the best shape ever. I think if that's true, if this really is the best version of Conor, I have to go with Conor. He could win it early as well, because Dustin is a slow starter. But I think there's a good chance that Conor within the first few rounds. I don't know that this goes the distance. If it does, then we're going to have seen an incredible fight. It's going to be an incredible fight, that however long this goes, because neither guy... Dustin's got something to prove because of the loss before, and Conor's got something to prove. Conor wants to show that he's still the man. Do you know what I mean? Like, the narrative at the moment is that Conor, couldn't beat Khabib. He says that he could now, but, is Conor the next person, the next best person in this division? I think by beating Poirier, you really do establish yourself as that guy. I suppose Gaethje's name is in the mix as well. I suppose Oliveira's name's in the mix a little, but Poirier is, right up there. If you beat Poirier and you do it convincingly, then I think you do establish yourself as the guy just below Khabib. And with Khabib about to walk away, make no mistake about it, that could mean that a belt is heading Conor's way very, very soon. There's a lot on the table here. A lot on the table. The winner is surely going on for a title fight. The loser is going to have at least one more, maybe two more fights to get into contention again. Probably if it's Conor, it'll be one more. If it's Poirier, you would think it would need to be two. But yeah, there's definitely things at stake here. And then obviously with the boxing and the Pacquiao fight as well in the mix. It's very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting. McGregor has lost his hunger. He needs to get it back. I think he's regained some of the early days, but the chip on his shoulder to rise up and proved out as wrong. I don't know that he's lost his hunger. I think what he's lost is... I'll tell you what he has lost that could be a problem. The mind games. I think that what you've seen there is a very respectful Conor, and that's fine. There's absolutely no problem with Conor being respectful. The problem is he has used that to win fights before. He has used that to work up his opponents, get into their minds, throw them off their game plans. Even in those moments where they could be training and working on game plans, they're just stewing on things that he's said. And that has helped him. That mental warfare, those mind games have definitely helped Conor McGregor in the past. He has not got that now. He is, I suppose, to a degree in Dustin's head. But as we said earlier in this stream, Dustin can get a game plan together and he can execute it. There's nothing here that is going to throw Dustin off any game plan that he has got in place. So if Conor wins, he's winning on skill. Like, a big aspect of Conor's arsenal of his game plan, of what has brought him success, that mental warfare. It's just not there in this fight. It's not there in this fight. This is a cool, calm, respectful Conor going in there against a great fighter. If Conor wins and wins convincingly, he has beaten one of the best in the division without using mental warfare, without using mind games. And that's huge. I think that's really, really huge. I think it also showed, like, because he was using mind games and he was, doing anything and everything he could to take on Khabib. I really like this from Conor, because I think he knows he's not going to get into Khabib's head. And even if he does, it's not going to result in a win, because he faced him and it didn't result in a win. He ended up losing. He ended up tapping. So I think Conor knows that in order to succeed in this division, in order to succeed against Khabib, you gotta be the best. The mind games ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna make any difference whatsoever. So he's coming into this good mentality, respectful. I hope he gets the job done. I think we would all love to see Khabib Conor too. I think the only way we get it is if McGregor wins, and wins really well, really convincingly. So that's what I'm hoping for. I love Poirier. I really do. I think he's a really great fighter. But I don't know that Poirier winning results in Khabib Poirier. And even if it does, I don't know that means Poirier wins. So I just kind of feel that if Poirier wins, the outcome, the paths are not as exciting. I think we all want Khabib Conor too, because he seems very confident he could get the job done this time. People used to think that McGregor was just a jerk, but it was a way of getting into the opponent's heads, and he admitted it. He really brought an element of WWE into UFC. That is true. It was mental mind games. It was business. It was to promote fights, build up the fights, generate the buzz, but also at times to get into his opponent's heads. None of that is there this time. None of that is there this time. And that is a factor. McGregor was off his game against Khabib. He was personally invested in it. He wasn't the case. He played the mind games previous to that fight. He was angry at Khabib. I see same concept. Khabib trying to get takedowns. Yeah, it's hard to sit here and talk about what would happen if Conor faced Khabib again, because I remember watching that fight and at the end just not caring for a second rematch. I thought Khabib was very convincing in his victory, and I didn't see a reason for it. I kind of sadly still don't see a different outcome, but if Khabib is going to have one more fight, I don't want that final fight to be against Charles Oliveira or Poirier, or I'd see him winning all of those. I see him winning all of it. I see him winning against Conor. In all fairness, I see Khabib winning whatever his next fight is. So with that mentality, if that is the case, why not just go for the biggest fight that's out there? Why not just go for the one that's going to excite the most people? And that's Conor. And that's why I would go that way. Conor is looking like a history teacher in those glasses. Those glasses didn't look good on... I bet those glasses weren't flipping cheap. Did you see the $1 million watch that he's walking around with? It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. It's got like a little planet Earth in it, and I think there's a moon, and the actual time clock part is like really tiny, and I think all of it like spins and rotates, and it's all like, it's just madness. And it's full of like diamonds and $1 million. Apparently he's got his eyes set on a $2 million watch as well. So Warsaw Till I Die says, I think Khabib's last fight should be against Conor, and then he should focus on training his cousin. I think the GSP fight would have been interesting. I think that would have been interesting. I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't see anyone else out there. I think Max Holloway would be really good as well, but I just think Khabib's going to be too big for Holloway, and I think, in all fairness, he just grabs him, takes him down, and end of the fight. So even Holloway, as fun as that would be after the performance we just saw, you get him down and it's a completely different animal, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I think who can beat Khabib? Realistically, I'm not sure anyone can. So with that being said, yeah, just go for the biggest fight that's out there. Just go for Conor. You've got to think that's what Dana wants, but I'm not sure it's what Khabib wants. I think Khabib is all about respect and everything. He just doesn't respect Conor. I don't like the shaved head Conor for some reason, says Jalen. Khabib could fight another 10 times if he wanted. That's true. It's hard not to like Conor. The guy literally came from having 0 to being working class. That's true, but he's done a lot of awful stuff, stupid stuff outside the octagon. Attacking people and all this kind of stuff. Like, there's definitely things that he's done that I'm sure even Conor would say was regrettable and stupid and all of that kind of stuff. He's very hot-headed at times, but there's no denying that bigger picture, if you will, where he's come from to where he is now. You got to respect that. So there we go, guys. I mean, honestly, there's not a great deal of stuff to really add to it. It's not the biggest press conference in the world. It was kind of short. I thought the questions were awful. I think the journalists are doing rubbish jobs. I think that there could have been some really probing questions in there. I really like the question to Dustin Poirier of what's different this time. How have you changed? I would have liked someone to have asked about, the boxing and Pacquiao and, what the future would hold. Because I do think that is still relevant because... Conor's going to fight a few times this year, and one of those fights is going to be in a completely different sport. So I do feel like that was relevant. So I would have liked someone to have asked, how does Conor feel about Khabib now, for example? What are the feelings now? There was a lot of ill will last time. Does that ill will still exist, or has things chilled out in the past few years? We didn't really explore any of that kind of stuff. It was all like, how do you feel at being at this weight? All answers that even I could answer for Conor. All stuff that you just know how he's going to answer. Well, I feel great at this. What do you want him to say? What do you want him to say? Oh, I feel rubbish. I feel a bit sick, actually, at this weight. I don't understand. I don't understand some of those questions or why they were asked. But kind of short, sharp, to the point. I don't know if it did the job. I don't know if it will have convinced anyone else to have bought the pay-per-view or whatever. But either way, that show is this Saturday. Make sure that you join us. It's huge. It's huge. It doesn't need the hype. This is Conor going up against one of the best fighters in the division. This is his toughest challenge since facing Khabib back at the end of 2018. If you're a Conor fan, this is his biggest test since Khabib. I think going into last year, I think we all knew that Conor would win that fight because that was a Cowboy Cerrone that was in decline. Still an incredible fighter, one of the best to ever do it. And could he have pulled off an upset? Of course he could, but it would have been an upset. This one, it's a very interesting fight. Poirier coming off a very, very good win over Dan Hooker. A very good win over Dan Hooker. And his fight before that was a loss to Khabib, and obviously there's no shame in that. And as we said, Poirier's got wins over people like Max Holloway, for example. He's got wins over Dan Hooker. He's got big, big wins under his belt. Poirier is 32. He's just turned 32. He's at the peak of his abilities. He's massively changed and improved since they faced each other the first time. And really, the winner here, you could say, is the next champ. Really, if Khabib have surrendered the title, I think this would have been for the belt. I think the winner of this would have been the champion of the division if Khabib had walked away. So, and then there'd be an argument that the next fight should be, say, against Oliveira. The first defense would have been against Oliveira, or maybe Gaethje would have got back into the mix somehow. But yeah, I don't think there's any denying this would have been for the belt. If Khabib's decision was, no, I'm done, I'm walking away, this would be a title fight. So huge. Absolutely huge. So make sure that you join us this weekend. Jalen says the lawsuit question was horrible. It was. Sucked. There was loads. It sucked. Loads of questions that were rubbish during this, but look, it's done. It's in the rear view mirror. I really appreciate people joining us at this really strange time, super early, super strange for us to do a press conference, but first big pay-per-view of the year. Conor McGregor on the show. Lots of excitement, lots of buzz. This is what it's all about, man. This is what it's all about. So super excited for this weekend. So have great days, evenings, mornings, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully I'll see you this weekend for an unmissable UFC 257. Bye for now.